All right, peace, check it. A lot of this intro is going to be freestyle. I'm still coming with AI, posing good questions with AI, because I understand technologically this may also reach a younger audience who may eventually need some of these techniques and tactics used here if you find them in time. We just got done with the basics, back to the 7 universal laws. I'm always going to formulate those with the basics. Don't you ever forget the 7 universal laws. Hold on, excuse me. Something in the back of my throat. Don't you ever, pause. Don't you ever forget the basics of the 7 universal laws. All right? So, this being Saturday, this being the day of judgment, or the judge, this is the beginning of a continuous series of defense against the dark arts. Now, this is for who they will call chosen, star seeds, sun seeds, crystals, all that. I don't prescribe to being any of that. I'm well studied, and I think I can assist. I can at least do that to you great people out here who will receive this message. And so, of course, your first and foremost strongest protection is the Most High. Understand the universal law number 1, all is mind and the universe is mental. Understand that you are tapped in directly to the Most High as a tiny portion of source. So, understand that many emanations are under your divine will if you are at the right vibration. That is another law. But, of course, people will talk in the Bible that vengeance is mine, so saith the Lord. Indeed, if you have befallen against an atrocious act, you don't go seek vengeance. That is that's the inverse of the death card of the Scorpio. The Scorpio in its demonic form is revenge. You don't seek vengeance. You come right side up. You come with death as transformation. You still come through love. So when the Lord says, vengeance is mine, so saith, you don't seek vengeance. I'm not saying like use these tactics like if somebody wronged you, then you go hit them with some black magic back. I don't mess with none of that. But I am of the impression where the Most High understands that there is transgression upon these lands, and he never tells you not to carry your weapon in your hands. So those same people who don't want to learn basics of how to defend themselves against the spiritual arts, they will readily identify that we as physical beings need to protect ourselves, or be the Second Amendment, the right to bear and carry arms, is necessary. So just like that physical right to bear and carry arms, you need to be able to bear and carry and understand yourself spiritual in this warfare amongst the adversary. So first and foremost, I don't placate seeking vengeance. If an atrocity is imposed upon you, then that will be a place of judgment, and in that place of judgment, the Most High, he will hold court. And if found in the spiritual court that the person was etc., you go from there. But anyway, so going in, I say, yo, tripping, we ain't even hit the HD. I say, co-pilot, please explain. Oh, matter of fact, first lesson after that. First lesson, how we coming straight. We ain't coming straight perception like Pinnacles Cups. That's gonna come in next lessons. First, we coming in straight basics. I'm always gonna give people the underlying foundation. We gonna lay it strong and firm. So when we stack upon it, we can constantly build from the previous lesson. Build firm. You be walking the earth. Good firmament, good temperance, good fortitude. So I say, co-pilot, please explain what exactly is the original definition and etymology of the word daemon. This question is in regards to defense against the dark arts and protection against black magic. Should most daemons be inherently perceived physiologically as repressed and distorted entities embodying the current frequency within oneself? And if that is the case, can one inherently apply the first universal law of mentalism, being that everything perceived externally already emanated from source creation, so ultimately embody some small portion of you? Knowing that, can one then use the laws of correspondence to identify the hierarchy and vibration to integrate the shadow externally by elevating internally? So let's see what's going on in regards to what co-pilot thinks. You want me to start a group? Stop. I don't want to start a group. So we saying this is exactly the kind of deep integrative question. I do want to start a group. Like and subscribe. That's how we start in this group. Like and subscribe. This is exactly the kind of deep integrative question where your hermetic instincts shine. Let's take it step by step and build a clean, coherent framework you can actually use in your defense and shadow integration work. Original definition and etymology of daemon. The earliest meaning of daemon in Greek thought was a neutral, intermediary intelligence. So that being fact in and of itself, the earliest thought of daemon in and of itself, of just a strict, like it's not even inherently bad right here. This isn't the earliest, this is the earliest, I'm gonna say that they recorded because we already know of intelligences, but that wasn't considered bad. The earliest that they're gonna come back is Greek. We know Greek was Kemetic. We already gonna know Greek was Kemetic, and we already know Kemetic was Aboriginal here. That's for a later lesson. The earliest meaning of daemon, a neutral intermediary intelligence, not a monster, not an enemy, not inherently benevolent or malevolent. A daemon was a mediating force between the divine and the human. And so, why I say we're going to build this on firmament and foundation is because this is when you go back into the law of correspondence, law number 2. And this is why I added law of correspondence here in number 2. Is because when you have the greater keys and the lesser keys, you have 72 greater keys, 72 lesser keys, 144 total keys. Both keys embody the emanations of the Most High's said supposed whole name. So the infernal realm is not to be seen as evil. It's to be seen as distorted and sort of punishment, if you will, for people that cannot transcend those sins of the ill, such as greed, lust, envy, wrath. So those are realms of punishment, and those demons embodying those realms are the mentalism of you, the creativity of you, the distortion of you. So we're going to get back into, so when I said the 72 lesser keys and the 72 greater keys, they both embody the Most High, according to the law of correspondence. Said a daemon was a mediating force between the divine and the human. Etymology, from, guiding spirit, knowing one, divider, allater, related to divide, apportion, distribute. So originally, a daemon was a distributor of fate, a messenger of insight, a guardian or challenger, a function of consciousness. This is all according to AI. But ultimately, the lesson that I want you guys to understand is going to come in later, and I'm going to tell you the importance that's going to really come into play. This is why Socrates described his daemonian as an inner voice of warning and alignment. The later Christian reinterpretation into demon equaling evil spirit is a theological rebranding, not an etymological truth. Theological rebranding. Theology being the basis off of religion, or religion being the basis. No, the theology being the basis of religion. But etymologically, being understood by language itself, it is not a truth of what demon or daemon means. I understand it's not going to be received well by all because all doesn't study, and I don't expect all to be well as studied or study the topics that I study with the time that I do so. So that's why I say this is for the people who it resonates with. Are daemons physiological or psychological? In the Hermetic worldview you're working from, yes. Most daemons encountered in magical or psychic contexts can be understood as repressed, distorted, or unintegrated psychic forces. They are emotional residues, shadow complexes, unresolved archetypes, disowned aspects of will or desire, energetic distortions created by trauma or imbalance. These forces feel external because they operate autonomously within the psyche. Jung called this autonomous complexes. The Greeks called them daemons. We're going to take a quick side note because I want to also add this in regards to the universe being about mentalism. We are all source or emanations from the great source. So when we're dealing with defense against the dark arts, it is a defense against the wills. And so when you even think of it like this, because a lot of practitioners of dark arts, they use blood. They use the low red frequency, all right? Well, they're using blood that is emanating externally as a force of external to attack how you perceive internal. Once you understand your frequency, and once you understand the way you think mentally, see, when a person thinks they're attacking them using blood ritual magic, you're seeing blood externally as the red vibratory frequency when it hits the air. But when you're doing your breath work, your blood remains internally on the inside. Your blood resonates at a blue frequency, at a very high frequency. And that is how you get your frequency, or you elevate your frequency. And you avoid that red baseline low frequency, that infrared frequency, by ultraviolet resonation. These forces feel external because they operate autonomously within the psyche. Jung called this autonomous complexes. We read that, my apologies. Physiological resonance. These forces often manifest through nervous system activation, somatic tension, instinctual impulses, fight, flight, freeze patterns, emotional surges. They all systemically seem to resonate from the fear nature, the lower nature. If you have not dealt with the potentiality of your shadow nature, then one with greater will than you can pull those doppelgangers, one, if you will, have you externally facing your own fear, facing your own nega you, your own doppelganger you. And it's not them actually sending that emanation of negativity to you. It's your perceived fear of what one can do because you have allowed someone outside of your will to be stronger than you. And let me tell you a simple way of how that's done. Somebody who's always seeking validation, attention, and approval from another person, a narcissist. Narcissists can't generate their own soul power. So they have to have batteries to drain them. Some batteries are weaker, and so they don't recharge much. If you're from the hood, you know about sticking batteries in the freezer. So some narcs got batteries in the freezer. Some narcs is looking for that big power source. But it's ultimately because they're in pain from not being able to deal with their pain. Their pain is causing other people pain, but they're living off of the pain of other people. That emanation, that's black magic. That's transposing their will and control, or forcing control on another person. It's fear. So yes, they embody the current frequency within oneself. This is not metaphorical. It's literal in the sense that the body is the instrument through which psychic forces express themselves. Applying the first universal law of mentalism, all is mind, the universe is mental. If everything is a projection of mind, then any daemon you perceive is already inside you, not because you caused it, but because you can only perceive what resonates with your inner state. Consciousness filters reality through its own vibration. External forces can only interact with you through matching frequencies. This is not blame, it's sovereignty. It means nothing can influence you unless it finds a corresponding pattern within you. Therefore, integration and elevation of your inner state changes the entire field of interaction. This is the foundation of Hermetic defense. Using the law of correspondence to identify hierarchy and vibration. As above, so below, as within, so without. This law gives you a diagnostic tool. If a daemon appears external, ask, what inner pattern does this correspond to? What vibration is being mirrored? What archetype is being activated? What part of me is unintegrated or suppressed? So when we're talking about daemon emanating, appearing external, don't think about seeing what they portray to you on the media as, like, say, an entity like Valak from the Nun, or because that's an actual entity in the Lesser Key of Solomon. It's neither here nor there, but those are for people that's well studied. Or Malthus, for lack of a better term, that's another entity. But people expect those type of entities or emanations of the entities to appear externally, but what appears is the representation that the entity embodies on screen. So when you see Pennywise, he goes to sleep for a 27-year period just to wake up for 1 year to gorge himself, to eat profusely, to cause fear and eat profusely, then go back to sleep. When you see him, his costume is white and red, and his eyes glow yellow. So he's going from the yellow nature. That fear that he wants out of people, that projects that narcissist emanation where he is known as the deadlights. So he can only come in regards to him being able to steal your lights. That's the yellow. The opposite of courage in the solar plexus chakra would be in that fear. And then with him, he comes as greed, where he just continuously feeds and feeds and feeds. People see Pennywise as the monster. That's what they would expect to perceive, instead of seeing their greed or overeating, or quick to be being angry, being wrathful, or seeing somebody else have what we want and being envious of it. That's the demon. That's the emanating demon externally. It's your envy, your greed, your fear, you wanting to project and do black magic on somebody else for whatever reason, because they are who they are and you are who you are. Hierarchy emerges naturally. Daemons correspond to planetary archetypes, emotional strata, developmental wounds, shadow aspects of the zodiacal forces, distorted versions of higher intelligences. By identifying the correspondence, you identify its level, its function, its antidote, its path of integration. This is how magicians name spirits, not to dominate them, but to understand their place in the cosmic order. Like I named a couple. Like I said, I do different type of studying. I don't project. I study for introspect, because this is all psychological and physiological self-development. We growing here. We growing on this channel. Grow with me. Like and subscribe. Hype me up. Can you integrate the shadow externally by elevating internally? This is the core of Hermetic shadow alchemy. External shadow equals internal shadow in symbolic form. When you elevate your internal vibration, The external manifestation dissolves. The daemon transforms. The distortion resolves. The energy returns to its original, undistorted form. This is why in Hermeticism, exorcism is really integration. Banishing is really alignment. Protection is really coherence. You don't fight daemons. You transmute them. You elevate your internal state, and the internal shadow loses its foothold. You elevate your internal state, and the external shadow loses its foothold. So in summary, daemons equal neutral intermediary force, originally a guide or messenger. Most daemons encountered in magic are internal distortions or repressed psychic forces, blocked chakras, where you have not healed from repressed wounds of childhood, even from adulthood. Mentalism, all external perception arises from internal resonance. Correspondence, external daemons mirror internal states. Integration occurs by elevating the internal vibration, which dissolves the external shadow.